Hello, and welcome to this video, Searching for Academic Funding, which has been prepared for Applied Intercultural Arts Research at the University of Arizona. We've talked in previous videos about fellowships and grants. Next, you might be wondering, how do I find those? That's what this video focuses on. In previous sessions, we started with an introduction to graduate funding and then more in-depth on resources and supports available through the University of Arizona. In this video, we'll focus on how to begin your search for funding. And so if you've never thought about any of these things before, here are some avenues you might consider in this funding search. Applied Intercultural Arts Research has begun a spreadsheet online of funding opportunities that are relevant for us and our colleagues. And so we encourage you to check that out, as well as contribute any ideas that you may have. Then I really suggest that folks start by thinking about who has a vested interest in seeing your work succeed. So for one example, if you're working in arts and aging, the arts are typically rather low on the funding totem pole compared to other fields, but healthcare and aging are usually fairly well funded. So you might think about that interdisciplinary part of your work as one source of funding. Then always talking with faculty members. It's great to maintain a relationship with the faculty members in your orbit so that when you are hitting a dead end or just starting out on your search and you need some direction, that you have an active relationship with them. And even if they don't know of anything personally or immediately, certainly many things come across their desk. And so just having you on their mind is a good thing. You should also know about Scholarship Universe, which is available through UAccess. And it's really great because it's got pretty good filters and thousands upon thousands of opportunities that it's searching. And then once it identifies the things that it thinks are most relevant, some of them are just a matter of 2 or 3 clicks to apply because you're pulling from common information. So check out Scholarship Universe for sure. Handshake is another potential avenue. It's a platform that the university uses to share hiring information, particularly through career services. So if they're having a career fair, or if there's some employer who you're interested in working for, if they're on campus, those announcements are going to go out through Handshake. Then the graduate college itself has a variety of resources, not only direct funding opportunities, for example, through GPSC grants, but also a network of experts who are there to help ensure your success. And so there are workshops and funding alerts and all sorts of other things that are available to you through the graduate college. And then I always recommend that people think about centers and departments on campus. So going back to that example of someone who may be doing work in arts and aging, we have a center for aging on campus. They may need programs, they may need staff, they may need other types of support that might be mutually beneficial to do. And then there are also lots of databases out there for various forms of graduate funding, and we're going to talk more about that in a moment. And then finally, be sure to ask your friends and classmates, hey, how are you covering your project next summer? Or do you mind if I ask you, you're pulling together financing for your degree, or whatever is appropriate in the moment and, sensitively asked among colleagues, we can help each other think through these really complex things that very few of us have any experience with. So mutual support. Then I mentioned that there are many databases out there that you should know about in terms of beginning your search for funding. Grants.gov is the central clearinghouse for all federal grant opportunities. That is probably a little bit overwhelming and maybe not the best place to start, but it is a wealth of every funding opportunity across the entire federal government. You'll see that many of those are eligible to organizations only. And so beginning to think about partnership opportunities, like we mentioned that hypothetical nursing home or the Center for Aging or other organizations that you might partner with to execute your work in community, you might be able to work together on putting together a grant application. Then there's also the Foundation Directory Online, which is now called Candid. Powerful database of databases, and it's pulling from multiple sources all types of grant opportunities, and there are some filters on that, but it's the flip side of grants.gov, whereas they're the federal side. Foundation Directory Online will pull from every other kind of grant source. Then there are 3 universities who have their own databases that are really easy to use and robust, and they're not just for the students of those universities. So the University of Illinois, Michigan State University, and UCLA all have really great search engines, and some of them are better at different things than others, or might draw from different sources than the others. So I encourage you to check out each of those. The University of Arizona's parallel to those search engines is called Pivot, and it is a little more difficult to use than some of the others, and the results don't feel as relevant to my work, but really, it's the University of Arizona, and so to the extent that it can be useful to you, just know that that is a resource available. And then I want to mention Immigrants Rising Graduate Fellowships. So particularly for international students who have all sorts of additional complexities about the types of funding they can receive, Immigrants Rising is a really great list that hopefully has more relevant opportunities. And then finally, the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine Fellowships is in some ways the individual version of grants.gov, in that it's primarily searching fellowship opportunities. It's not just the National Academies of Science. It's across most of the federal government, the National Institutes of Health, and all sorts of other agencies, as well as programs like the Mellon Fellowships. So those all go through the National Academies of Science site. So even if you're not in science, engineering, or medicine, know that that's a really great source of federal support. So I hope with that, you can start to visualize how you might pull together an academic fellowship that perhaps covers your cost of living, and then perhaps a project that helps advance your research and fund your summer needs, and then other types of grants for equipment or travel, that by pulling together each of these threads, you can weave a tapestry of support. In the next video, we'll talk more about how to secure funding for projects. Then the next one is called Help, I Need Funding Fast. And that's for emergency expenses or short time frame grant applications. And then the last video in the series is on grant writing tips. Thanks so much for your attention. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions or need additional support.